History is being written in real time. Mr. Putin retrofits the narrative of 2014 and 2022 to portray a reluctant empire manfully dragged into war. Mrs. Merkel now suggests that Poland and the Baltic states helped precipitate the invasion by refusing her last throw of the Minsk dice in June 2021. Whatever the motive, such revisionism is a distraction from the proximate danger before us. A wartime Russia using a vast grey armada of ageing tankers to fund the war, probe our coastlines and potentially launch drones at Europe. That is the threat set by Putin, and we must face that today, not with yesterday's alibis and yesterday's what-ifs and who's responsible and why this person didn't do what they should have done. First, the facts as they stand this morning. President Zelensky has warned that Russia's shadow fleet is not merely a sanctions dodger, but an operational platform, and his intelligence chief briefed him that drones have been launched from tankers to conduct reconnaissance, sabotage and wider destabilization in Europe. And that is not a Ukrainian think piece. He says it's on the record, and Kyiv is pushing the intelligence to partners. Second, the French case study. Paris boarded and detained the sanctioned tanker Boracay off Saint-Nazaire after it loitered along routes adjacent to Denmark at the very moment swarms of mystery drones shut airports and overflew sensitive sites. President Macron was careful on causation. He said the link to those incursions had not yet been proven, but he also made plain that Europe has shifted to an active strategy against those ships. That prudence matters, and so does the boarding. Third, the Northern Air picture. Denmark had to close Copenhagen airport, and after coordinating after the coordinated drone incursions, and similar activity has appeared over northern Germany, and officials have openly framed this as hybrid activity designed to test responses and sow doubt. Today in Strasbourg, the Commission President called it what it is: hybrid warfare, an escalating campaign that aims to unsettle citizens, divide the Union and weaken support for Ukraine. She urged a broader toolkit than classic air defence alone. That is the correct diagnosis. So, why do the tankers matter strategically? There are three reasons: money and mass. The shadow fleet now runs to several hundred vessels by conservative counts, and close to 1,000 by some market data sets. A double threat because it keeps oil cash flowing and provides mobile, plausibly deniable platforms. Growth has slowed under sanctions, yet the fleet remains large and adaptive. Ships with opaque ownership provide marine ambiguity. They're frequently reflagged, often uninsured by top-tier clubs. They are ideal for grey zone work. A radar blip at anchor can be an oil carrier or a launch pad. And Denmark is now tightening inspections and boardings of suspect hulls. That is late but welcome. Drone teams operating from a ship can force an airport closure without firing a shot in anger. This is an air attack by proxy. The effect is cumulative: cost, delay, public anxiety, and the normalization of intrusion, and that is the point. Meanwhile, Russia continues to grind at Ukraine's energy grid. Overnight, a D-Tech thermal power plant was struck, seriously damaging equipment and injuring 2 engineers. It is the 200-plus attack on their plants since 2022, and this is not a random instance of shellfire. It is a coherent campaign to freeze households, slow industry, and exhaust repair crews ahead of winter. Set that against the long-range debate in Washington. President Trump says he has decided on tomahawks for Ukraine, but wants to know how they would be used. The Kremlin warns of rupture if they are supplied. Whether or not the missiles are ultimately transferred, the discussion itself signals that the strategic depth of Russia is no longer sacrosanct. If Europe is being probed from the sea, it is rational that Ukraine presses for tools that push back at range. So what follows for European policy? Treat the shadow fleet as a composite threat. Sanctions evasion, environmental risk, and potential ISR or strike platforms, not just an oil compliance problem. Expand coordinated port state controls, AIS enforcement, and identity checks for ships that change name, flag, or ownership in suspicious patterns. Resource maritime interdicts, and France has shown what right looks like, replicate it, and ensure there's joint boarding teams, rapid legal pathways to detain non-compliant vessels, publicise seizures to raise insurance and financing risk for operators, harden the air picture. Airports and energy hubs need layered counter UAS, radar plus EO, RF detection, geofencing, spoofing and kinetic options with clear rules of engagement for drone swarms near runways and fuel farms. The costs are lower than a single day of closures across a hub like Copenhagen. If a drone incursion correlates with a suspect hull on known approaches, treat ship and swarm as a single event for attribution, sanctions and legal process. Link the sea to the land. The demands should be shared. That it demands that we should share sensor data with the Coast Guard, with the civil aviation authorities. Keep political focus. Brussels is right that this is a hybrid war. We should say so plainly, maintain unity, avoid the rhetorical cul-de-sac of who misread whom in 2021. History classrooms can debate Merkel's hypotheticals. Agencies now need to stop the next drone tonight. And Mr. Putin celebrated his 73rd birthday, telling generals that Russia has the initiative, that Ukraine is retreating, that civilian strikes inside Russia prove Kyiv's desperation. It is the familiar theatre of strength, but the reality is mixed. Russia modifies missiles to slip past Patriot. Ukraine adapts with mass drones, and both sides hit energy systems. Noise aside, the decisive European task is simple. Close the maritime and air seams that Moscow is exploiting. Stop the ships, catch the drones, keep the lights on in Ukraine. The rest is commentary. And it's also worth noting, Ukraine hits energy systems which are used to fuel the war. Moscow hits energy systems that are used by civilians to fuel their homes during winter. There is a difference in the way the war is conducted. That difference is stark, and it goes along with the overwhelming number of civilian strikes that are made by Russia across Ukraine. There isn't a corresponding wave of missiles and drones that are hitting Russian civilians from Ukraine, and that, as I say, is significant. One side in this battle is evil, the other side is, well, good. This is a classic, a classic ethical manifestation. It seems to me that there is a clear good and a clear bad, and we need to wake up and recognize that fact.